water to more than 24,000 homes, farms, schools, and businesses in Nevada and Placer counties.
Good evening. My name is Sam Mills, and I'm filling in for Paul Minicucci, who is in Washington covering the White House Christmas, and I hope he brings back some great footage. In the meantime, I am hosting Nevada County Interviews, and tonight we have with us a very special guest. In fact, we have with us Santa Claus, and for the first time ever, he has granted us permission to interview not Santa the legend, but Santa the man. As we all will find out, the two are vastly different. So, welcome to Nevada County Interviews, Santa.
Oh, well, welcome. Thank you very much for having me, Sam.
It's a pleasure. Now, I can call you Santa, can I, instead of
Sure.
Mr. Claus? Great. Well, I'm interested to know who Santa the man is. By the way, I note that your name is Santa E Claus. What does the E stand for?
Well, the E stands for Ebenezer.
Ebenezer, like in Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yeah, just the very same. Actually, Sam, it's a biblical name. It means stones of help. Can you imagine that?
Okay.
Well, yeah, see, here's how it would happen. Charlie Dickens and I were in a pub in Shropshire back in, 1860. And we're sitting there at the pub, and I said, you know, you're a man of great expectations, and I know you want to tell a story about a tale of two cities, not Grass Valley and Nevada City, incidentally. And I said, you know, you need a parable about Christmas, where a mean-spirited man who hates Christmas sees the error of his ways through the eyes of the ghost of Christmas present, past, and future. And we were talking about what make a good name, and he said, oh, I got the perfect name, Timothy Weezer Gilder. I said, come on, Charlie, that's not going to sell. Nobody's going to want to be called Timothy Weezer Gilder. So he came up, and I said, you know, I got a great middle name. He said, what's that? I said, Ebenezer. And he said, you know, I think I will call him Ebenezer. So that's how it took, and the rest is history.
Did you inspire him to use you as the ghost of Christmas present?
You know, some people say there is a resemblance between me and the ghost of Christmas present, but I'm not so sure. He seems a little bit more rotund than me.
Well, moving on, I want to ask you about St. Nicholas and how he enters into the story.
Well, St. Nicholas, he is one of the pikers, of many pikers. You got Kris Kringle, you got Sinterklaas, you got all these guys who are riding on my reputation. You know, I was making runs out of the North Pole long time ago, and I never did have the smarts though to copyright the name Santa Claus, and I could have made millions, you know, because I'm more popular than RC Cola.
Well, now, Santa, you know, not everybody loves you.
Well, I got to tell you, that's ridiculous. That's scandalous.
Well, as a matter of fact, there's this archbishop in Argentina who just a couple of days ago said some things that are very unflattering about you, and I'd like to quote. His name was Archbishop Singapa, and he said, 2 days ago he said, and I quote here, that Father Christmas was not Christmas, but just a fat man dressed in red. And then he went on to say, and I quote again, children should know that in reality, the gifts come from the efforts of their parents and with the help of Jesus. Now, what do you have to say about that, Santa?
Hogwash. I mean, look, let's face it, being the high office of archbishop of a town in Argentina, I mean, that can't be a happy place for the poor guy. But here you got, on the one hand, you got a jolly old man that makes children happy, brings them toys, and on the other hand, you got the Catholic Church. I mean, the Catholic Church, they ran out of town Galileo and Copernicus and who else? Michelangelo, and they ran out of town all the Jews, and then you got Madonna and Soupy Sales. I mean, these guys don't know how to have a good time. And so you got Santa on one side, a good-hearted, jolly man, and the Catholic Church. What are they known for? The Inquisition and 3 or 4 world wars. So, I ask you, which do you want, Santa Claus or world wars?
I ain't going to pick world wars.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the viewers are going to want to know how the heck you get around to visit all these millions of children in one night. How do you do it, Santa?
Well, the cover story is I got this team full of reindeer that pulled a sleigh around the world. And, we got these reindeer here, and...
Reindeer, now, do you have any trouble with PETA about the reindeer?
Yeah, PETA, Schmida, what do they know? I mean, you can ask the reindeer, I feed them, I treat them well, and they only have to work one day all year. So, hey, by the way, I got a tape here with Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, on the tape. If you play it there, Sam.
So this is going to be about the reindeer.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Reindeer, and Mrs. Claus feeds us lots of good stuff, and we could not be happier being the reindeer for Santa. And so for all those people who think Santa mistreats his reindeers, I just say, and that's all I have to say. Thank you. Bye.
Well, I guess that's Rudolph talking. There's proof that the reindeers can actually communicate with us. And I don't know, Santa. I mean, it sounds to me like Rudolph is definitely a big fan of yours.
Well, reindeer in most parts of the world, they're beasts of burden, or you got people shooting at them. So how PETA can take the fact that I have some reindeer, I mean, they're out in the woods, they're happy as hell, they poop wherever they want, we give them food, give them little sleigh bells and stuff, so I treat them right.
Well, it's good to hear that, Santa. I'm really happy to hear that. So getting back now, how do you make all these home calls in one night? I mean, we're talking about millions and millions of stops.
Well, it's a version of the law of relativity. Now, here's how it happened. Niels Bohr and I were sitting down.
You know Niels Bohr?
Yeah, sure, Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, the whole lot of them, good guys. They taught me a lot. In fact, Neil once told me, he said, we are all agreed that your theory is crazy. The question which divides us is whether it is crazy enough to have a chance of being correct. My own feeling is that it's not crazy enough, is what he said.
That's a famous quote. I didn't know he was talking about you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's the way I interpret it. So anyhow, Neil and I and A.E. were sitting down one time.
Excuse me, Santa. A.E. Who's A.E.?
A.E. is Bertie Einstein. Who else would it be, So me and Neil and A.E. invented the very, very, very special law of relativity. And it states that if a jolly fat guy in a red suit can accelerate his flying sleigh near the speed of light, he can bend the space-time continuum. And as he approaches the speed of light, he falls into a wormhole, And then he can travel around the world many times in one night. To you, it's just a microsecond.
Now, this sounds a lot like quantum physics to me.
Exactly. You know, Santa Claus is no dummy. You know, you've got to have figured out these things and keep up with new technology.
I bet that's challenging. Speaking of physics and science, Santa, I was wondering, you know, being up there like at the North Pole, how are you dealing with all this melting ice and stuff and with the global warming?
Yeah, it's really getting tough, Sam. It's getting wetter every day, every year. It's like a sauna up there, I'm telling you. So we may have to move south to someplace like Reykjavik or Detroit or something. But you know what? I think I have a solution for all this global warming.
You have a solution for global warming?
Yeah, absolutely. See, I think if everyone around the world would just make a couple of extra trays of ice cubes every day, we might just solve it.
It's so simple. It's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
All right, Santa, moving on, I want to ask you now, what is the biggest issue for you? What really is the toughest thing you have to do?
Right. Well, we used to have lions chasing the Christians, and we had the Black Plague, and then we had mosquitoes, and we had all that stuff. But right now, in modern days, I'd have to say it's homeland security.
How's that?
Well, look, you know, it used to be easy. We got the elves all ready. They put the toys in the bag, loaded up the sleigh, and there I go off into Wild Blue yonder. Now, you can see here, you got to have NORAD chasing me around the damn place. And not only that, I got pat-downs, I got X-ray machines right there. I say, geez, I'm freaking Santa Claus. Now, one guy told me I fit the profile of a terrorist.
A terrorist?
Yeah.
How? What did you mean?
He said, you got long hair, you got a beard, you wear funny boots, you have no visible means of making money, you admit you invade people's houses in the middle of the night, and worse, you refuse to file flight plans. Now these guys, I tell you what happened here. Here's a story for you. So I got the bag of toys, and I'm going through the line right there in the North Pole. This guy pulls me over, and he pulls out a little gun. He says, what's this? It looks like a weapon. I said, that's a pop gun, you idiot. They almost arrested me for that. So then they tell me, hey, Santa, would you please take off your boots? Santa, would you please take off your belt? Santa, can you please take off your suspenders? And then after that, they make me file flight plans. You know, can you imagine how long that flight plan is? It's volumes, bigger than the U.S. budget.
You know, so there's something to be said about the good old days, isn't there?
Boy.
I tell you, it's getting complicated.
It is.
Well, listen, talking about complications, I'm just curious, and I know I've had some people write in about, what's your relationship like with the elves? You know, how do they come to work with you, and what's it like having them work for you?
Well, that's a really good question, Sam. You know, personally, I love the elves, the frisky little fellows. You know, they are easy to work with. You don't have to have big fancy place. They have teeny weeny little beds, and then a teeny little bedroom. You know, Mrs. Claus doesn't have to feed them a whole bunch. They work hard. They're always singing. They're easy to work with. I love them.
Well, now, are all your workers elves?
Well, it used to be that I had primarily elves working for me, but then after The Wizard of Oz was shot, you remember that they had a lot of gnomes and midgets in that movie, and then those poor guys were out of business. And so I heard about that, and I brought up the gnomes and elves, gnomes and the midgets, and so now they work alongside with the elves. They all get along, great people.
Do you worry about workplace issues at all?
I'll say, there's one bad word in Santa's vocabulary, and that's OSHA. I mean, these people in Washington with the pointy heads come up and tell me how the elves have to work. The benches are too small, the lighting is too dark, they're working too hard, all that stuff. And I said, you know, the elves love me. What are you talking about? Well, regulations, and regulations.
It can't be easy being the employer. But speaking of which, do you have any union or labor issues with the elves?
Well, I'll tell you, you would think so, wouldn't you? And there was one time a couple years ago where the Italian fellow from New Jersey came up named Jimmy Hoffa. And he said to me, he said, I think I should organize those elves because they sure need a union. I've done the Teamsters, and so now I do the elves. And I said, Jimmy, these guys don't need a union. But I tell you what, you work with trucks and carrying all that cargo around the United States, maybe you'd be a good person to be the head of logistics. And he said, I love that. So we concocted up the story that he got shot and he's now lying at the foot of the New York Giants football stadium. Yeah.
People always wonder what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. Now, it's nice to know he's up doing an important service.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He does a lot of good stuff. Makes great lasagna.
Well, now, moving on, Santa, I know some people have sent me a lot of pictures.
What kind of
I'm
pictures?
not sure you're going to enjoy seeing these too much.
Well, now, Sam, you're not going to do one of those Geraldo Rivera type jumps on me now.
Well, let's just call it show and tell time, okay? These are pictures of you and members of the female sex.
Wow. Look at that, babe. That's one spicy meatball.
Well, now, Santa, that she's sitting in your lap there as clear as day. Clear as day. And what about this one, Santa? You're kind of interested there.
Yeah, you can see that I have my eyes peeled, as it were. Yeah, she's quite a honey.
Oh, Santa, what about her? Look, do you know who she is?
I have no idea about that one. I think that's one of them Photoshop deals there.
So you don't know who she is. Well, here's a bunch. You're surrounded by women in this one. And obviously, you seem to have a certain magnetism or something.
Well, I'm not so sure that's me.
Well, is that you? You sure that's not you, Santa?
Well,
is that the Santa Claus, the man up there, or the legend?
It depends on what the meaning of is.
That sounds like Clinton to me.
Yeah, well, you got a better role model.
Okay, well, moving on, Santa, I would like to say that we have another picture somewhere of the missus. And I was just wondering, it's a little hard to see.
Well, it is the missus up there, I think. She does not photograph well. I'll tell you what. The missus is an ornery, can get to be ornery.
I have a feeling she might look kind of angry up there.
Yeah, she is. She's in a bad mood all the time. In fact, I asked my psychiatrist about that, and the psychiatrist said, well, you know what? The fact is Santa Claus only comes once a year, and that's down a chimney.
Comes once a year down the chimney?
Yeah, well, don't ask me to explain it anymore.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Santa.
Yeah.
Tell me about that incident in Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia, that was brutal. Brutal. Back in the 80s, the Philadelphia Eagles were not a very good football team. So there's this bright Harvard MBA type who says, what would be great for a great halftime show? Bring in Santa Claus. So they bring me in there, and all of a sudden, the fans up there, the drunken guys, are throwing snowballs and booing Santa Claus. Can you imagine?
That's appalling.
It's a terrible. Sometimes it ain't easy being Santa Claus.
I can imagine.
Right. No good deed goes unpunished, Sam.
Well, Santa, we have another picture here that is of you, and it was done by Thomas Nash back in the 19th century, and that's considered to be one of the first portraits ever done of you as Santa.
Right. Well, that's true. And that happens to be a pretty good portrait, I'd say. But it's probably not the only picture that was around, because artists have been trying to capture me for years. I mean, we had, back in the early days, we had the Quattrocento artists, and then we had Giotto, and then we had Leonardo. He did some portraits of me. Then we moved into Rembrandt. You remember him during the Kris Kringle years, I think that was. And then we had Picasso. But Picasso did it. It was really strange. I had an elf coming out of this hair here and 3 hats over here. It was a little weird.
What about Michelangelo? Did he ever do anything for you?
Michelangelo, yeah. You know, if you go to the Sistine Chapel and you look up in the deep recess of the ceiling, you're going to see a little naked cherub that looks an awful lot like Santa Claus. So that was me.
Wow, you get around, Santa. Speaking of pictures, there have been a lot of portraits of you that were done back in the 30s and 40s, drinking Coca-Cola. Now, I have to ask you, were you a corporate shill?
Listen, that was a scurrilous thing. Some bright guy thought he'd make his reputation off of Santa Claus by saying that I was a made-up, just a made-up kind of cartoon, to help sell Coca-Cola. They said, you notice that the red that I wear is awful lot like the red of Coca-Cola? Coincidence is what I say.
Well,
I'm not a corporate shill.
That's good to hear, Santa. But
yeah.
Speaking of corporate shills, do you have a relationship with Toys R Us? I always wondered about that because of the R Us. Sometimes I wonder if US doesn't stand for Uncle Santa.
Right. Well, I have to say that it's true that they helped me out a great deal. And that, Toys R Us, I'm a little dyslexic. And so when I gave them the nameplate, it had the R backwards. But turns out it's a good deal.
All right, Santa, I'm going to move on and talk about music a little bit. There's so many Christmas songs and stuff.
Love music.
I was wondering, do you have a favorite Santa song?
Well, I have to think about that. Let's see. What was that song about the wise men? That's probably about me. But I'm partial to the song that says, here comes Santa Claus, coming down Santa Claus Lane. Don't ask me to explain that one again, Sam, okay?
All right, Santa. What about I Saw Mama Kissing Santa Claus?
Boy, you got this thing on your mind.
Well, as a matter of fact, we even have something, we have evidence here.
Oh, my God.
There we go. We have evidence that you have kissed somebody's mama.
Well, Santa Claus, let's face it, is a sex symbol. I mean, women are attracted to me all over the world. And do you know what figure men like to imitate most? It's Santa Claus. So why would they do that? They know that I'm a powerful, they got them what they call pheromones or something that I shoot out.
Well, all right, let's just say you have a big presence about you, Santa, no doubt about that.
Is that some kind of hidden joke about my weight? Big?
Well, Santa, Santa...
I could get you replaced here, Sam.
That reminds me, I was just wondering, have you ever been sued?
Have I ever been sued? Sure, I've been sued by St. Nicholas Fund for Young Children, the Kris Kringle School for Orphanage and School for Young Girls. They sued me because they said that they had the rights to the image of Santa Claus. But I got some pretty good lawyers in my time.
That's reassuring, Santa. Santa, you had mentioned before that Jimmy Hoffa was up there working with you. I was just wondering, are there any other famous people that ended up in the North Pole?
Well, what happens is a lot of times people just disappear, and sometimes it looks like they took their own life or they were involved in some kind of accident. The truth is they just get tired of being a celebrity. So, for example, one of my co-pilots is Amelia Earhart. And you know who's up there helping me? It's Marilyn Monroe and Elvis, and, John Lennon. And I got Jimi Hendrix playing Christmas tunes. They're all up there in the North Pole.
Wow. And so many people have wondered if those people are really dead or not.
Right.
And now we know. We've heard the truth.
I got Jim Beam up there. He does a pretty good whiskey.
Senator, we've just got a few more minutes left, and there's some questions here that I know the viewers are going to want to hear. We talked about how you get around and are able to visit so many homes during one long night. But how do you get all those toys onto the sleigh and into the homes? I mean, there are more toys than you could put into a Goodyear blimp.
Well, now, that's one of the other mysteries, You remember the show Star Trek?
Sure do.
Yeah, and they had this thing where, Captain Kirk would get up there at the bridge and he'd say, "Beam me up, Scotty." And then they'd transmogrify. Whoa, there they go to another place. That's exactly what we do with the toys. We take them and we demorgrify them down to quarks. And then I pack them in the bag, and then I go to the house, and then I dequark them. And they turn into toys again.
All I can say, Santa, is there's more science than fantasy about you. That's for sure.
That's one of the hidden things about Santa the Man.
That's very interesting, Santa. I want to ask one more question. We got a couple minutes left. I want to get this one in for sure. How do you deal with all that mail?
Oh, man, up until a couple of years ago, it was really getting to be a problem. But then, by God, they invented this electronic mail they call email. You have an account?
Oh, sure.
I got a Twitter. Sure. You want to see my tweets? Here comes Santa Claus. Here comes Santa Claus. Is that 140 characters? I'm not sure. Anyhow, we got the little kids used to doing their little thing with the mobile devices, and that's replaced mail for the most part.
Well, Santa, we're down to about the last minute here, and I've just got to ask you one of the last time.
Because I like Nevada City. Although one thing happened to me once, there's this plate of cookies out there, and it had been laced with a little marijuana. Some little kid thought that would be funny.
Oh, no.
Oh, man, I lost my bearings.
Were you able to...
I ended up in Madagascar.
Oh, my God.
Oh, terrible.
Santa, we're almost out of time here, and I just want to... One final... Santa the Man versus Santa the Legend.
Well,
what's the difference to you? We're down to the final minute
here. Well,
here,
Santa the Legend is a jolly guy. He's really a good guy. And so am I. But, after 2,000 years of lugging toys around, my lumbago sets in. I get, hit up all the time. And so I think the difference is Santa the Man is a real man. He's a ladies' man, as you can see. And Santa the Legend, well, he'll go on forever as a good guy giving kids toys. I like it that way.
Well, listen, Santa, it's been an honor and a privilege to interview you, and we're so grateful that you found the time during this holiday season to come by and visit our studio. And I want to use this time to wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy.
And I want to thank all the crew, Janice and Gail and Jenna and Diana and Adele and
Don't
once
forget
again,
Harley.
And Harley.
Harley.
And once again, from Santa and myself, we wish you all a very, 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 very Merry Christmas.